Well, today is Thursday, August 16th. We're here at the Schenectady Museum, which is now...
At what time? So
It is 1813 local,
Oh,
about
whatever.
613. This is now known as the Museum of Innovation and Science.
Yeah.
I'm Chris, W2CCR. I am the SMARA Radio Room Officer.
And everybody that's
We
here
have
so far.
Pete, W2PR, the Secretary, Norby, and JR, N2PEQ.
Okay.
All right, Pete. So why are we
Hi,
here
everybody.
today?
Well, I'm the secretary of the club, and as some of you know, you've been reading some of the publicly entered conversation on our e-groups concerning tonight's meeting. Well, it's my contention that tonight's meeting was not canceled according to any of the rules that I'm familiar with, and I tried to make a good case for that on the e-groups. I personally didn't ask anybody to be down here, but because I came here to prove a point, that tonight's meeting is officially not canceled, and as you can see, the doors are locked.
Yes.
So, the reason I'm here is because there's been a lot of discussion concerning my duties as secretary. I've been listening to certain 80-meter nets. Well, I wouldn't call it a net, I'd call it a show. But there's been some criticism concerning, in a general fashion, certain club officers who aren't performing their duties. They should be more concerned with getting grant money for the current board so they can do with it what they will. Well, let me tell you something. All year, I have striven to, or made a big effort to, do my job as secretary to the best of my ability, okay? And there have been certain club members who I think have done an outstanding job and been critiqued. At every turn, when it seems like we're trying to do things correctly, straighten things out, which I believe is what I was brought on board for, we have faced opposition, okay? Now I'm hearing there's a silent majority, and the silent majority, as defined by who I don't know, because it's a silent majority, we used to call them others and they years ago, certainly doesn't approve of my actions. Well, my actions consist of insisting that the business of the meeting be conducted at the business meeting and not at the board meeting. That's in the rules, okay? Another thing that I insisted on was that if you're going to cancel the business meeting, which is not even done in most associations, they don't cancel a meeting. That's unheard of. What you can do is adjourn a meeting. And in order to adjourn a meeting properly, you have to make notification. Jared, were you notified that this meeting was canceled this evening?
Well, let me go another step forward.
Let's see what Jared has to say, because he showed up tonight.
If you look on the W2IR website,
Yes.
it says that all meetings are the third Thursday of the month,
At what
Okay.
time?
7 p.m.
Correct.
Yes.
It doesn't
They
say
have been
ex-
here
it
consistently at
doesn't say
7:30.
excluding. It doesn't say excluding summertime meetings or.
Right.
Right.
Sometimes it's even 8 o'clock.
Right.
And I may make the note that sometimes it's at 7:30, sometimes it's at
the
8.
business meeting is prescribed by the bylaws. Okay?
That you wrote.
Well, I didn't write them per se.
Right.
I inherited a constitution back when we had the club that more or less we tried to make some innovative changes which would open the club up to be governed by the club members rather than a strong board. If you notice locally, most of the clubs, ham radio clubs, have a strong board.
Correct.
The board dictates and governs the association, the affairs of the association. One of the things we added way back when was the membership governed the association. Well, for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to get into the whole thing. A lot of you that have been around understand that we used to be very transparent. We used to have meetings on the air. We used to conduct our business on the air. Nothing was behind closed doors. There was nothing that was inappropriate or embarrassing to the board, because we were open to criticism. We were open to challenges on what our actions, and we were open to questions on what we did and where we thought the membership should be going. Okay, JR, I think you were involved way back when, correct? Am I speaking a mistruth? We had people like Jim Hanel challenging almost everything. Okay, and I think everything was open. This past year, I've been critiqued because I've been on a public forum. Well, you know, most of the time, I don't really go to e-groups. I answer emails that are sent to me from an e-group. And I can't help it if it goes back to the e-group. And I can't help it if you don't like the answer. Okay? And so, I can only do my job the way I feel it is according to the rules and the way I feel it should be done properly.
Right.
Okay. You did something which I thought was wonderful this year.
Mm-hmm.
You got a piece of Collins equipment fixed that is long outstanding.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, not
and
only
yes,
that-
there was a
yeah.
misunderstanding concerning the estimate, but big deal. You caught a lot of flack for that.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, it was in the benefit of the membership and the club to do it.
Right.
You were chastised for that.
Right.
And then the big tamale this year was we have to combine field days and lose our own identity.
Right.
Okay? I was challenged on that.
So was I.
advocated not doing it. So did other members. But apparently the silent majority, again, that I'm hearing about, had other ideas.
If I
And
can make a note, we had a board meeting that said we were going to table this discussion of joining field days.
Right.
And then that following business meeting, it was on the table after we
Right.
said we weren't going to do it.
So, in effect, I attend meetings, I hear things, I record things, and yet it's reinvented after the fact when the business is not conducted properly, or to support agendas. Okay? The agendas that are being supported this year don't coincide with my agenda. I was brought back for a specific purpose, okay? And apparently what I was brought back for in my mind and what the people that brought me back for doesn't seem to mesh, okay? Now, I haven't gone public. I haven't recorded like I'm doing now a
Right.
critique of these folks. But since I'm near the end of my tenure, and I don't imagine that I'm going to be continuing this capacity, I think everybody ought to know in a public venue, not on a local radio show, not on an e-group, but I like to do things face-to-face, so you see my face when I'm talking to
Right.
you.
Exactly.
They don't like to do things face-to-face. I've offered in my emails and in my responses that I will discuss anything about my performance with anybody at any time. And yet I have no response. I hear crickets chirping. That's all.
Right.
So I'm here tonight to prove a point. Meeting was not canceled appropriately. Okay?
Right.
I presented the scenario why it wasn't. I went through Robert's Rules of Order, which also is being mocked. Okay? Because we're going to invent things as we go. Now, this club's been run like that for years, not with just the current administration. Continue the course of action, lose your identity, combine with another club, do what you want. It's a hobby. You know what? It's not a big part of my life. It's not
Right.
my life.
It's also
I could
not
wear
a democracy.
I could wear a lot of little tin badges. I did this. I took time out of my life to try to do the best job I could for you.
Right.
Okay? And every time we went down the road in defiance to the agenda of the silent majority, we seem to have had a successful event. I think the field day was successful.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Okay? I think everybody's happy that the Collins piece of equipment has finally been fixed after many years, which I would regard as an achievement. And I don't really
It
think
is.
anybody would want to see this club run
Right.
in an inappropriate fashion.
Right.
So I've spoken my piece. I asked Chris to film it. We're documenting it. And what does it really mean? Probably nothing.
Right.
Probably nothing. The positions will be rotated again. You'll probably go down the path that was thwarted this year. You'll lose the identity of the club. You'll probably combine field days. And good luck. Good luck. What can I tell you?
Right.
That's all I got to say. If
Pretty
any of you
much.
want to speak.
Well, I think the one thing we got to point out too. Look at that antenna.
Oh,
Look at that. Look at how horrible shape that antenna
but
is.
you'll
in.
be blamed.
Yeah.
And I'll be blamed. Let me add one little thing. I've been only on board about 10 months.
Right.
This club was in a state of disrepair, and as Jim put it, falling apart. As I've heard on the air, he's concerned that it's falling apart. Yeah, it is.
It is falling
He
apart.
told me that in the grog shop last year.
Right.
Okay? So why continue the status quo? If you're concerned that the existing way of doing business hasn't been working for you for a number of years, why not make the changes? Why go back to the status quo? What were you afraid of?
Right.
Were you afraid of getting something done? And what? Now, my major failure is that I didn't secure you a large sum of money so you could do with the money what you did with the club this past year?
If I also
Have a
may-
nice day.
Yeah, exactly. If I also may add, I've seen a lot of things that really, I've seen a lot of things happen here in this club where people just want to argue.
Right.
Nobody wants to get anything done. Everybody wants to point the finger at everybody else, and nothing.
And I
gets
think
done.
I think the point of us, you holding back on the funding, because you don't
I
want.
haven't held. Let me make another point clear. I haven't purposely held back on anything.
Right.
During the beginning session of this year, the president listed a whole bunch of objectives that
Correct.
he wanted to see done. I don't think we accomplished much of that.
No.
And that was outside of the venue of what the secretary does.
Right.
Okay? For months, I asked for a plan of what you wanted to do if we did secure funding, and I was thwarted. Okay? I was told that the tax status wasn't secure yet. We didn't know what a tax. Finally, that gets done. Then I ask again, and it's documented in the minutes. Well, where are we going? I have to, in order to put a grant proposal together, you have to put down what your objective is. You have to be very precise and focused on what it is you want to do. People don't just hand you large sums of money because you feel like, hey, we want money. Well, we don't really know what we're going to do with it, but just give it to us and we'll figure it out as we go.
No, you need a plan for it.
You need a plan. They don't write a grant like that.
Right.
So I don't need to hear that I'm not doing my job when you're not doing what you're supposed to do to enable me. I have to be enabled to do my job. And now time's almost run out. So probably you will pick somebody who is, I guess, more in line with what you want. Somebody molded in your image, or somebody that meets the criteria of you and your friends in another club who feel that they understand what the needs of this club are. So that's fine. And I don't need to hear any criticism when I talk about another club or another Schenectady club. I was raised in Schenectady, okay? I've earned the privilege to make comment on my hometown.
Right.
And the way the dirty politics are run sometimes.
Right.
Okay? I don't need to be lectured by anybody.
Exactly.
Okay? And now that you're seeing this YouTube, if you choose to have me face to face with you, I will gladly talk to you about it face to face, 3 feet apart. And we'll see what you got to say. And take out your dog-eared copy of Robert's Rules of Order. I want to see it. I want to see where you actually read it. I've had one for years. You can see the wear marks and the underlinings and the little folded over pages where I had a reference. I actually read it, but I'm not even claiming to be a parliamentarian.
Right.
I'm just the secretary of a little tiny club in a now increasingly insignificant hobby that's on its way out, and I don't need all this grief. I'm a very busy man. I came and I gave you my time. I did the best I could, so c'est la vie. That means that's life in French for those of you that. And that's it.
That's
Nothing
it.
more for me.
I don't think anybody else got anything.
Any final comments?
Yeah, I do have a final comment. Another thing that's kind of irritating to me is that I've seen a lot of things try to better this club. I've seen a lot of people try to make improvements, and the improvements just fall on deaf ears. And it's
Like my list of things that need to be done in the radio room.
Correct.
And if I may
And they
reference
won't-
back to
and
that
it
beam
just
antenna.
seems like they ignore it. And to be totally honest with you, and I'm saying this flat with the utmost bluntness about this, if this is the way if this is the way this club is going to continue, I don't want to be part of this club, because I have other things in my time that I could be doing.
Would you agree to that, JR?
I think the club has gone through some changes, and I can't really say too much because I just became a member
Right.
of the club, and that's really not a...
But it's all. But you being a new member almost feel as though you could potentially be disenfranchised, right?
I could be doing other things.
That too.
Yeah,
A new old
exactly.
member. You were a member years ago, weren't
I
you?
never joined.
You never joined?
No.
But I guess
You
the.
always used to be a participant on the meetings on the air. I remember you used to get on.
But I guess
You're
the.
aware of what it used to be.
My major point is that beam's been in this condition for almost a year.
Uh-huh.
Nobody's wanted to take up the initiative. I started taking up the initiative,
And
but
won't
they
do
kind
anything about
of blushed it off.
it. Yeah.
They were upset at the fact that I changed the person who was going to do it. We went from Saxton to Pendleton. I was thinking of doing Olson, but if the club's going to be run the way it is, I'm not going to. You guys worried about it.
The computer that you were criticized for. You set up a site, right?
Yeah.
Why critique you on that? What was all that flack you were taking about setting up the site?
Because they wanted access to my
server.
files on the server.
Your personal files.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, and you had to get grief for that.
And when I told them
And
no,
it's
I'll
hard
just
for
have you
his
access to the
computer.
website, it was just it was whatever. And the whole thing of making me run out of my way to do a DLR and a hot backup, a hot swap, or whatever. I don't know. They want a website. they can probably host it on the other Schenectady
can-
club.
they
Are
can
my
make it
postings
themselves.
still available on the e-group in case people want to
Yes.
go there
Mm-hmm.
and read about what I've said on this video?
Yes, and if anybody
Please do
wants,
so, and feel free to write to me.
I can send them to them too.
Thank you. Just as long as they haven't been taken down.
All right. Well,
Because they're going to be curious about what I said and how I defined the rules and see if they can.
Right.
Oh, by the way, I did get 3 or 4 emails, compliments, private emails,
Good.
Good.
telling me
Very
that I was right on the money.
Right.
So
Well, that's all we got, folks. I hope you learned something
That's it.
here. And
another informational video.
another
by
informational video of how politics and
Curtis
ham radio
Video
run.
Productions.
Yes.
Moose Ears Productions.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.